everyone, and welcome to a Mouse Madness / Pixar Panic Roundup. I'm Irish Husky, the founder of Mouse Madness. I am here with my usual cohorts, as well as one special guest. Everyone, please introduce yourselves.
Hi, I'm Wesley Hunt. I helped to formulate this podcast, and I am really excited to talk about all three of these movies, but not for the reasons you probably think.
Hello, I'm Carrick and Namnit, aka Raccoon Bro VA, and I'm getting close to 7,000 subscribers, so by all means, please subscribe if you're interested in reviews, voice acting, memes, and death battle content. I'm your guy.
Hello, I'm Yoda Jets 10. I also help run Cartoon Chatterbox, and I'm a writer of stories like Animationators, and I also do voices for Lights of Patrick Warburton and Reed. Those are my voices. Those are some I do.
I am Jack ValJack, the special guest. You might know me on Twitter. I tend to talk about film and politics, usually from a more right-leaning to libertarian perspective.
Right. That's another thing. We have a roundup for Disney, and we are not going to mince words. This was not a good year for Disney.
No, it was not.
Disney.
Right.
Tisk.
Right.
It wasn't terrible.
It was pretty awful. Let's not mince words. It was pretty awful.
I mean, from the business side, it was pretty rough.
Yeah. Oh yeah, money-wise, absolutely.
This is easily one of the worst years they've had in a long time, for sure.
Yeah, they had Guardians of the Galaxy 3, which was their only certified hit. We had The Little Mermaid and Elemental, which barely broke even. But it really kind of started last year with the first film on the docket, which is, I think, the biggest flop in their history.
Are we talking worse than Black Cauldron losing to Care Bears bad?
I think financially, yeah.
Oh no!
It is ranked in the list of biggest box office bombs of all time.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah. But yeah, last year had Strange World, which I think is financially their biggest flop, but let's see if it was through any fault of the film.
Okay, so before we actually talk about the films, I just want to say, before this podcast, I actually went through and reseeded all of the Disney films and all the Pixar films in the way that we did for the tournaments, just to see how things would shake up with the new films. And let me tell you, the two Disney films, Strange World and Wish, which we'll be talking about later, they did not fare so well in the seeding. So Strange World has a weighted score of 61.0. If you want to know where that ranks with the other films, it is tied with Make Mine Music and The Black Cauldron.
Ooh.
Yeah, it is currently listed as the number 14 seed in Class C. If we were to run the tournament back right now, it would debut against Zootopia.
Ooh.
That's a deep competition. And
Yeah.
guys,
We're only 2 more movies away from a full 64, but that's another story.
you want to know how badly Strange World did? Even Mars Needs Moms did better than Strange World.
Man, I couldn't even finish that stupid movie.
I'm looking at the list right now, and Mars Needs Moms made a little bit more than Strange World, in terms of estimated loss.
Oh man, is that like as a percentage of budget or just
Adjusted for inflation? Yeah.
Oh god, man.
Right.
That's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'll tell you. I think the only way that most of us heard about Strange World is just about people talking about how badly this was marketed.
No, yeah. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm subscribed to several reviewers like CellSpecs, I would have not even known that it was coming out.
I saw one trailer during the World Series. That was it.
Man, I think I remember seeing more advertisements for Teacher's Pet, honestly.
Yikes.
I think the only trailer I saw for it might have been during the previews for Lightyear. Actually,
Wow.
I don't know. The trailers might have come after that because they didn't really start pushing it until only a couple months before the release date.
Right.
I mean, were Disney seriously like, oh yeah, this movie's out in theaters. Here's the trailers. Go see the movie. Yeah, whatever.
Disney's like, oh wow, this movie looks really great. Like, I can't wait to like show it off to everybody when it eventually comes out. And they're like, Disney it's scheduled to come out next week. And they're like, what? Wait, what?
I do remember seeing a few trailers for it back in the era, but it was mostly like the lack of anticipation and talking about it, like in a positive light. Because I mostly heard like, oh, this is going to have Disney's first gay character. And like, that was the most I heard from an advertising perspective. Nothing about the film itself, though.
Yeah, their
Right.
first gay
It's,
character
like
for the
it's
fifth
seventh movie
consecutive
to have the
time.
first gay character.
Right. I think it's their first gay lead. That's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Right.
To be
And like
fair.
in a feature film also.
True.
And
Right.
let's
There
be
are
real.
3 theories as to why this movie bombed. Number 1 is that they wouldn't market the gay character.
No one
Number
did say.
2, animated sci-fi in general is just kind of a hard sell. Number 3, the one I'm most inclined to believe, Disney was going all in on streaming, and they wanted to have this be like Encanto.
Mm-hmm. I mean, like,
It's really unfortunate that sci-fi movies just like rarely get a chance with Disney, because we talked about Treasure Planet, and that's one of my favorites that they've done.
Right.
And
Wall-E
that
was
also
the 8th
massive.
highest grossing movie of its year, but that's kind of the exception to prove the rule.
I mean, that was after hit from Pixar when their name was just like synonymous with high quality. So that movie was going to do great regardless of the outcome.
Yeah.
But
No,
yeah,
but I feel like we should actually talk about the movie itself now,
Right.
because
Yeah, what
it's very easy for the discussion around this film to just be the meta, like how it did. But like, what did you guys actually think of the movie itself?
okay, so I rewatched
fine.
this movie. I rewatched this movie yesterday in preparation for this podcast because I haven't seen it since I first saw it in theaters. When I saw it in theaters, I remember thinking it was pretty good. And when I saw it again, I still think it's pretty good. I think people kind of undersell this movie. Honestly, I'm not going to rank it among my all-time favorites, but, you know, the word mid gets thrown around a lot, and there are kind of 2 ways that you can evaluate that. And the way I evaluate it in the context of Strange World is that if I were to rank all the Disney movies, it would fall somewhere in the middle. I know this because I did rank all the Disney movies before Wish came out, so there were 61. And it came in at number 31, right in the middle. So,
Yeah.
So I guess in that case, yeah, you would use the word mid.
right.
Right.
And most Disney movies are good, and I think this movie's good, not great, but if it were playing in the background, if someone were forcing me to watch it, I wouldn't have any problem with it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I feel pretty similar in that regard. Like, I think it's mostly fine. Like, there weren't really any parts that frustrated me or anything. And just I was mostly just I was watching it, and I like the story was serviceable. Like, you know, the characters were serviceable. I didn't really laugh at any of the jokes, but I mean, none of them made me angry or anything. It's just fine movie.
Right. I think
it has some neat ideas.
Yeah, I think most of the criticism comes from just how basic it is in terms of storytelling, and I don't know. I think there's a certain charm in being kind of basic. I mean, Bolt, that's a pretty basic movie, and that's one of my favorites. I love that one.
Yeah, I kind of like how it goes for the weird fiction angle. It's not quite sci-fi, it's not quite other worlds, but it follows a certain trajectory of the weird in between, sort of like a biopunk, if you will.
Yeah.
It feels like a 30s pulp novel. That's how I would describe it.
Which I really like the I swear it feels like every Disney movie has to be like that recently has to have an opening sequence with an animation style that's so much more appealing and interesting to look at than the actual rest of the movie itself. I am so sad they didn't stick with that like comic book aesthetic they had at the beginning. That I feel like that would have helped the tone so much more. But I don't know if this is a hot take or not. I really don't like the character designs in this movie. It's getting to the point where I'm really sick and tired of just like this look being in all of them, and this one is like the culmination of that, and it's just not very nice to look at.
Didn't Alan Tudyk do the opening narration at the beginning?
He did,
I think so.
Yeah, I thought so.
and it was a good like radio operator kind of voice. that you would hear from one of those audio dramas.
Yeah, I think the beginning of Up did a similar style.
Yeah.
Right. This kind of wouldn't be out of place as a Lego adventure set. Don't know how many of you grew up with Johnny Thunder, but this is the type of adventure he'd have. And it was a good look at a sort of a family drama, how they had 3 successive generations working together. I wish we had more of those in Disney movies.
Yeah, I know, generational trauma. That's my favorite Disney villain.
Like, I'm like you guys. I personally really like the movie. Like, but like, I wouldn't say it's like one of my top 25 favorites or anything. But I remember having a good time. Like, I thought these were pretty good characters, and also we gotta mention that this was like the last Disney film that Bernie Mattinson worked on.
All right.
Oh yeah, R.I.P.
Yeah, and like, and there was even a dog character that he created that everyone decided to name Legend, which was named after him.
Oh wow.
Oh, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because that was one of the things I was really like curious about. Like, why is this dog here? It's like, you brought the dog with you? It's like, yeah. Why did you do that? That seems like a really bad idea. And like, this dog has like no like in survival instinct at all. It's like constantly in danger and like it's always smiling and like just jumping into precarious situations that the characters have to be like, no, let's just like make them more stressed out. And the one scene where it does actually get to do something, the joke is that it could have been solved by Splat anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
So why is this dog here? Well, now I kind of know, and it's like, all right, that's kind of sweet. And in a meta sense, I just kind of wish he had more of a story purpose.
Yeah. I will say the scene where Legend is, quote, helping unlock the door, and when Splat goes underneath to give him instructions, it kind of reminds me of that one scene from Winnie the Pooh 2011, where Owl flies out of the hole to give Piglet that inspirational speech and then just jumps back down to wait to be rescued by him.
I love
really good
like
speech,
that.
Owl. And speaking of Splat, I think, obviously it's one of those characters that they put in because you gotta have like a cute animal sidekick. They even have a line of one of the characters being like, "Oh, I want to make a marketable plushie of you." It's just like,
I was just about to say it's for the merchandise.
Yeah, they're not even trying to hide it in this movie. But I will say I do quite like the way he's animated. Like they give him a lot of personality with the way his limbs move. It kind of reminds me of. Have you guys ever seen any Alan Becker videos?
I think so.
Sounds familiar.
Yeah, he's the guy that does the animator versus animation videos, and it's all the stick figures running around. Like, I got a lot of vibes from like those videos because they're very much in the same vein of not using any dialogue and using motions to like get the character personalities across. And I was like, hey, he kind of reminds me of The Second Coming a lot, like the way he moves his limbs around.
Oh yeah.
Something else I had to say, like, on the subject of that joke we were talking about, like Winnie the Pooh and stuff like that. In the third SpongeBob movie, like, not me honest, I don't like this movie, but I will probably admit there is one big joke that made me laugh. It's when SpongeBob and Patrick have like a bit of a fight in the dungeon, and at one point, like Patrick opens up the prison cell door, and then goes inside another one to be alone for SpongeBob. I'm like, okay, that was actually pretty funny.
I could see that being funny.
Yeah.
I still haven't seen that movie because I just don't want to.
Yeah.
You're not missing much.
Even from someone who loves the current seasons of SpongeBob, you don't need to see that.
You see, that's the thing. Because, like, okay, I promise we'll get back to you know what? No, we're talking about Disney movies. I shouldn't go off on a SpongeBob tangent. So let's get back to Strange World.
Yeah,
I
Strange
didn't
World.
give my thoughts.
Right. Yeah, of course there was that the main character, the Dennis Quaid and the Dennis Quaid guy, they were big ones, but the one thing that caught me off guard seeing in the theater was the twist.
Yeah, see, I was able to tell like the direction they were going in for the most part because of that scene they had playing the card game, and the kids like not everything. There's not always a bad guy in everything, and they had a very very obvious line from one of the guys being like, "No bad guy." Well, that's just bad storytelling. And I was like, "Oh, go flag off. Like you knew what you were doing with that line, Disney. Like, come on. And but I could tell that they were definitely hinting at all the monsters like not really being their enemy. I assumed though it was going to be some sort of direction like, oh, they're like just trying to feed their young or whatever. But the actual twist, like surround like what they are, like that actually did catch me off guard. I was like, okay, yeah, that I did not see that coming. That was actually a really good twist. And like I could tell they were going in like that direction, but you managed to spin it in a way that I didn't expect. So I appreciate that.
Right, it's a living organism. It's kind of an inner space. So yes, it could still qualify as a space opera, just in another direction.
Yeah.
And the moral of the story is pesticides are evil.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Don't weed. Like weeds are plants too,
Right.
I wasn't really sure how I felt about the final shot of the movie though, where it's like it is actually just like this turtle creature like swimming around the earth, but there's literally nothing else on the earth. Like I kind of would have liked it if there were like a couple other turtles like swimming around, so to imply that there were other civilizations going through similar things. But
Yeah.
but then it kind of leans into that one fable of how the whole Earth is, on like a turtle, just like floating through space or something like that.
Right. There's also a very famous parable, sort of done with the environmentalists, of the living Earth theory, that the entire Earth is an organism and must be treated like such.
We are not doing such a good job then, if that's
Right.
okay.
No, we are not. But that was kind of interesting. Can we say this movie also kind of had a twist villain?
Yeah,
Sort of.
a little bit.
I thought they were doing a twist villain with the crew putting them all in the broom closet, but then like literally the next scene they're like, oh, okay, no, we should actually care for this organism. And it's like, oh, what was the point of any of that? Like, it felt like if you cut that out of the movie, it would have been largely unchanged.
They needed a climax. That's the thing.
That tends to be the problem with big stories like these without a villain. You say, it doesn't have a villain. Well, that's just bad storytelling. Well, sometimes a villain is good for movies like this, where the climax feels a little forced, and it just kind of comes out of nowhere. So if you had a villain, it would have felt a bit more natural. I'm just saying.
I'd like to kind of refer to what Shea Frillis Productions said. I don't remember the exact quote, but it was something along the lines of, "This is a big environmentalist kind of film. Why isn't there a villain?" Because I feel like that really would apply here.
We definitely need more Tim Curry as an evil puff of smoke.
Yeah, and comparing things to chow mein noodles.
Yeah. Like you could have had a villain, like, I don't know, someone that Searcher, it's a dumb name, by the way. Someone that, Searcher does business with, like sells Pando to for whatever reason, like someone who like knows the ins and outs of it, so he would be useful on the expedition. And then when he finds out that they have to destroy Pando to save the Earth, like he's the last impediment, like, because that's his business, that's how he makes money.
Isn't that the plot of Atlantis Lost Empire?
A little, yeah.
Sort of.
Sort of.
This movie definitely, look, it's good, but it does feel a bit like Discount Atlantis at points, because
Right.
it's like it's perilous, but like not that perilous. Like sure, like that pilot guy dies at the beginning. That was also voiced by Alan Tudyk. But like in Atlantis Lost Empire, they have like an entire like funeral like section of all like the crew members that they lost. Like it feels like way heavier in that film, like the stakes. They even have that famous quote of, "All right, head count, who's not dead?"
My leg!
There you go.
Yeah, and also, I think another area where Atlantis succeeds in comparison to Strange World is the crew. They feel a lot more dynamic. Like you get to know them as people because you have that scene where you get to know them as people. And and here they're just there because you need a crew. And aside from the one guy who's just like the bumbling idiot, There's not much
voiced by
else aside from
voiced by the taxi driver from Deadpool.
I will say this about the movie. Like, I like the way they handled the grandpa in a way. It's actually kind of nice knowing that the wife of him was still alive and actually remarried. And I will say I like the ending where he meets her again, and her new husband gives him a great big bear hug. I'm like, aw, that was a little sweet.
Yeah. Well, we'll never see where it goes from there, though. But it was a nice little moment, and it was fun seeing him get caught off guard by the fact that he was way bigger than him. So I'm like, okay, yeah, this lady clearly has a type. I can respect that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speaking of, I think talking about the father-son relationships between Yeager and Searcher, between Searcher and Ethan. That was pretty clearly telegraphed early on. Like when he's talking about when Searcher's talking about how he wants to be, the kind of dad that, his father never was, and then it turns out he's being just like him, just in a kind of different way. The scene where Ethan said, "I don't want to be like you" to his dad, I literally, no joke, started singing Cats in the Cradle.
I was just about to right now.
Well, I almost burst out laughing because I was like, of course he would say the exact same thing that he said to his dad. Of course he would.
And it all comes full circle.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Writing 101, everybody.
Right, and of course, Searcher has to be the one to break the cycle, so they resolve that right away.
And to be fair, this is better than I've seen in other films. There are other films I felt didn't do a good job. This one, this did an alright job at it.
I do appreciate the reason they give the granddad for coming back to help out when he sees the picture and his face is broken off of it. That was a pretty powerful moment. With that didn't need any dialogue. He's realizing that he needs to fix this, and because he's literally been out of the picture for 25 years. Wow. I just came up with that just now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, anyway, I don't really see a world where this would have been a huge hit, but it probably didn't deserve to be this big a bomb.
No, it did.
No.
I was expecting it to be really bad, but the fact that I thought it was okay, I was like, man, this is the biggest box office bomb in Disney's animation? It does not deserve that at all.
I mean,
Curiously, I actually saw their other biggest bomb, Treasure Planet, in theaters.
Nice.
yeah,
that doesn't deserve it either.
yeah. I think.
I don't know what it is, but I had a knack for seeing bombs.
Yeah, I think the poor marketing combined with the fact that it got pulled from theaters pretty quickly because initial projections, initial box office numbers weren't all that great. I mean, this was before Puss in Boots 2 and Elemental, which were kind of on that same path, but then word of mouth kind of convinced the studios to give them an extended theatrical run, and then they managed to break even and then some. So this was before that. This was right before, studios were like, wait a minute, maybe theaters are actually still viable.
Right.
Yeah,
and what's impressive about Puss in Boots 2 is it was also up against Avatar 2, i.e. the biggest movie of the year. So the fact to turn in a profit against that was a good underdog story.
Yeah, an under cat story if you'd like to be ho about it.
Ooh, clever.
It is the fact that it was that good and the word of mouth was that good was why it did so well. But I don't think Strange World really had even that same word of mouth going for it, because it's a fine movie, but I don't know if I would have wanted to go out to see it in theaters, and I didn't. But I saw Puss in Boots in theaters 4 times because I love that movie so much.
Yeah.
I actually saw that movie the day after Christmas, before the hype.
Wow.
So I was one of the originals to get on it.
Me too. I thought I actually liked it from the trailers even.
I should say, like, you're not the only one who saw, like, a couple of bombs on the big screen. I actually saw Teacher's Pet when it came out in theaters.
Wow,
Oh,
like
yeah.
that's a blast from the past.
Yeah, like, I saw it because, like, one big reason I did see it is because, someone at school was talking about how a SpongeBob movie was coming out. I'm like, this has to be a rumor. So I'm like, okay, I guess I'll see Teacher's Pet to see if it is. And like, yep, I heard there was a SpongeBob movie coming out, and hey, I really enjoy Teacher's Pet.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So, any closing thoughts on Strange World?
Like the family dynamic, like it's all right. Like I appreciate that the mom isn't sidelined for the whole movie. Like she actually does get to like be in some important action scenes. Because most movies like this, it's like, oh, like go out and save the world, honey. Like I'll be here and maybe have one line at the end of the movie.
I do like that.
I appreciate that they subverted that trope, and
Right.
I still
Right, they actually had
Why-
it be relevant to the story.
I still don't see why the dog had to be there, but hey, like that's a nice reason meta-wise that you guys gave at least. And
Yep.
Splat's the best character though. That I will take no other like option. I will take that was no debate from me.
He did get a showcase scene in Once Upon a Studio, so yeah.
oh, yeah.
That was a funny joke too. He had a crush on Ursula.
Yeah,
And
I-
and Ursula's like, oh no.
I guess he's just attracted to things with tentacles.
Yeah.
He's got a
Yeah,
tattoo, or it does.
So on to the next one.
I should. We should acknowledge Splat's pronouns because in the credits it said Splat as itself. So
Yeah.
My on Strange World, where it was just a relatively decent film, more positive than negative, but kind of barely considered a 7.
yeah, I would probably give it a 6.
It's a
Yeah,
low
it's
7
probably-
for me.
Yeah, it's like the epitome
get
of a
like-
7 out of 10. Good,
I did get
decent,
two
but
big
not
surprises,
something you
though.
go
I
out
will
of your way for.
I did get 2 surprises though. The twist of like it being a human,
Yeah,
and I did genuinely think that the grandfather Jaeger played was going to be the villain, and was surprised he wasn't.
yeah. The only reason I didn't, the only reason I knew he wasn't was because I knew this is one of the movies that was like the straw that broke the camel's back of people being like, can we stop doing generational trauma as the villain in these movies?
Yeah, I think as far as generational trauma goes, this one was serviceable enough. Not as strong as Encanto, but fine. But yeah, probably a good one to kind of pause the book on that for a bit.
Anyway, let's talk about another generational trauma movie.
All right, moving on to
Pixar.
our Pixar.
Pixar's turn.
Yes.
Elemental.
Elemental was kind of a good underdog story, but it's a bit over exaggerated. It did have legs in theater, but at the end of the day, it still barely broke even.
Right.
I am glad it didn't bomb because while this isn't one of my favorite Pixar movies, I have loads and loads of respect for it. The ambition of it, you see.
Yeah.
'Cause
Yeah,
this
and I'd
movie's
say
not-
of the 3 movies we're discussing, this one was probably my favorite, if only because it did raise a few eyebrows and go in different directions.
for sure. 'Cause this movie cost $200 million, and it's easy to tell why when you look at it. Because like I've seen some people like not so sure about like the character designs and like the world, and like we'll get into that in a bit. But you cannot tell me that it is not impressive how all these characters, like you got characters made of fire and characters made of water, and they're like constantly like moving around like as they're walking, and like the fire is constantly having smoke coming off of them. And they managed to do it in a way where it isn't distracting or disorienting, like that. I don't know, off the top of my head, the Bobbleheads movie.
Right. Yeah, though, the fire people are the only true elementals because fire needs oxygen.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, this is the elementals of Avatar, not the Avatar with blue people, the Avatar with blue arrow guy.
Yeah, but that was a joke. It's a chemistry joke.
Good job.
Before we go into this, I want to say, again, I did reseed all the Pixar movies. And Elemental, again, not so hot as far as seeding goes. Raw score of 64, which puts it as the fourth worst, ahead of the Cars sequels and Lightyear.
Oh no,
But-
that's really bad.
Yeah,
Oh dear.
it has a much higher IMDb score than Metascore, so I mean it's getting
Yeah,
it's still positive.
critics and audiences don't always agree.
Well,
And
to be fair, it is having to compete with the rest of Pixar's catalog.
that is
so-
true. If we were to start Pixar Panic again, it would be the 6th seed in Class D, and it would face off against Toy Story 4.
I'm not too surprised by that seating though, because I do think Lightyear is probably the worst Pixar film by far. Because at least Cars 2 is enjoyably bad. Like
Yeah.
Lightyear is just a slog.
Right.
Right.
But yeah, I honestly don't know which of these two movies would win, Elemental or Toy Story 4, because I know a lot of people really like Toy Story 4. I also know a lot of people really don't.
Yeah, man, I am curious about that too. Actually, maybe recency bias would help Elemental as well.
Maybe.
Right.
I like.
I do know Toy Story 4 won its first match in the prelims of Pixar Fank, though it was up against The Good Dinosaur.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah,
Oh god, Elemental is seated below The Good Dinosaur.
I do. Look, I don't think Elemental is nearly as bad as The Good Dinosaur. Okay, let's make one thing clear.
No, that's
Yep, but I did like a lot of the aspects of it, but I do think the world building was flawed. If you're gonna do this sort of racism allegory, don't have it be with people who can inflict actual harm, like the fire people. It's the same problem with X-Men.
Yeah, like
It-
it is trying to be another star-crossed lover saying like we all know where it originally came from, the Lion King 2, Simba's Pride.
Yes.
Fact.
Yes, the first movie to do that trope ever. I love that.
Yes.
But what I was surprised though, because funnily enough, the marketing once again did not do this movie's story that much justice, because you think it's gonna be like a sort of like the dad disapproves of the guy movie, but it's really more a film about is it Ember? Is that her name?
Yes,
Yeah.
Ember Lumen.
Yep.
Okay, good. It's more about her and like trying to figure out who she is, like beyond running the store, which you would not assume from the marketing. Which, by the way, can I just say, I gotta give them credit. At least Wade's name isn't nearly as obvious, because that is an actual name in real life, and it does also double as a subtle enough pun when it comes to water.
I think Ember's meant to play on Amber, but you could just call her Amber; it would still work.
I guess.
Honestly, yeah.
I mean,
Wait a minute, guys.
I mean, I hear Ember, I just think of the Danny Phantom villain.
Yeah, like
dear.
Amber.
We don't talk about that.
No,
Amber's
no.
tender. You will remember my name. I'm sorry, I couldn't resist.
I get it. But but yeah, it was pretty interesting. But this also was a movie that kind of feels like it had 6 plots. You had Ember's plot, you had Wade's plot, you had the two getting together. So some of it felt a bit disjointed, but overall, seeing these characters in this environment still kind of made it work.
I legit thought that this movie was gonna end at like 3 different points. Like when when Wade, you have the scene of him crashing the ceremony, and it's like really cringy because it's like, oh no, stop, why? This is like an important moment, dude, stop. And like I assumed that was supposed to be like the emotional climax, but then it just kept going after that, and then the city inspectors, they said the glass was fine. They said it was going to seal the dam just fine, but it broke anyway for no reason, because we need to have a third act climax in this movie.
The
with
glass
no villain.
breaking is symbolic, Eric.
Yeah.
Like the bond, it symbolizes the bond between Ember and Wade. That was something they made together, and now that their relationship is fracturing, so too is the glass. It's a metaphor, man.
I will say,
Completely honest on that. Anytime I hear anyone say something symbolizes something else, I always think to myself, Was that always planned or just a coincidence?
Most of the
Like-
time, it's just a coincidence.
Yeah,
I
the
think
curtains
this
are
time it
blue,
very
they're
much was
blue.
planned with these two things happening simultaneously.
Like,
Yeah, but like that always goes through my head whenever they say it's symbolic of this. Every single time.
Yeah. But
Sure.
like speaking of that glass, you'd think that Air Lady, I forget her name, would have inspectors checking on that, or at least having Ember going back to, I don't know, reinforce the glass every now and then. You can't just assume that first time patch job is just gonna seal the deal.
Oh, you're gonna love this. Her name is Gale Cumulus.
Yeah.
Gale.
Thought so.
That's another name that works better than Ember because, again, it's at least a name people actually have.
right.
How about we name someone Aurora Borealis?
Aurora Borealis, at this time of day, in this part of the neighborhood, lies entirely within your kitchen.
Yes.
May I see it?
No.
Oh.
And that is why the movie didn't make enough money, because nobody saw it.
Right. But they had all these ideas and all these modes. I do think it was clever at the end with Wade and how he regenerated.
Yeah, as annoying as that scene was, because, like, come on, there's no way they were going to kill Wade. Like, not in a
It's
million
a
years.
Disney movie. You know this is part and parcel for them. If you're not a parent or a villain, you come back.
There's,
Unless you're Bing Bong.
Don't even try. But with Bing Bong, at least that was symbolism.
Yeah, but that was good symbolism.
Yeah. By the way, I'm looking at the voice cast list. By the way, so I can because I couldn't remember all the names. You get that one character who was like the Earth like bureaucrat that they were trying to get the like forms from or whatever, like Fern Grouchwood.
Fern.
I didn't realize he was voiced by Joe Pera this whole time. For those who don't know, he has that Adult Swim show, Joe Pera Talks with You, where he's like sort of a grandpa-esque figure.
Oh, no, Terra. That works because Terra is Italian for Earth.
Well, no, Joe Pera.
Terra, oh, right. I misheard.
because and he just like he talks to you about like different subjects in each episode, and so just basically ASMR fuel the show. I had no idea he was in this movie. And
I feel like that would have been a perfect like Ben Stein role.
Yeah, well, he sort of got that same inflection.
Yeah.
By the way,
His name
also
is
apparently
White.
one of the kids is literally named Innocent. Somebody
Really?
named their child Innocent.
But shouldn't they take the fluctuate route, call him Millicent Bystander?
and I don't mean one of the characters in the movie. One of the voice actors is named Innocent.
Oh, yeah.
That will hold up amazingly in court.
Right. But
I
anyway,
can't be guilty. I'm innocent.
Literally.
Yeah, the one Earth character I can think of off the top of my head, his name is Cole.
Is Claude.
Oh, Claude. Why wasn't there a Cole?
Well,
That might have been. I don't know. I feel like that might be more of a fire name.
maybe.
But Claude, oh my god, that's horrible because that's an insult in Steven Universe.
Claude. Well, and apparently also Pixar made a really embarrassing tweet of saying, "Do you have Riz like Claude or something like that?"
Oh, sweet Jesus!
Oh,
How do you do, fellow kid?
Don't try and be hip with the youths, Disney.
was Claude the kid who grew the flower in his armpit?
Yes.
Hated that kid. He was so annoying.
Yeah, I
Well,
think
I don't
the
know why he
marketing
was
made
in
it
the
seem like
movie.
he was going to have a much more active role, but it's only like 3 minutes of screen time at most.
I think he was just there to just so they could have at least one Earth character with a name, because when you watch the movie, you're like, wow, like Earth and Wind, especially Earth, like doesn't really play that much of a role in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't even really, there are a lot of things where it's like it's hard to understand like what it's supposed to be like parallel to in our real world, like when they see the two Earth people like picking each other's apples in like their rooms and like, oh, and they're like clearly embarrassed. Like, we're just doing some pruning. And it's like, what was that supposed to be symbolic of? That was just confusing.
reminds me
Sex
of the
kick.
joke from- that reminds me of the
Foreplay.
joke from SpongeBob. SpongeBob doesn't have hair, or does he?
No, when that scene came up, I just thought of that bit from Futurama. It's like, whoa, mama, get a room, you two. We're in a
well, you
room.
know-
Well, then lose some weight.
If you want a better version of that elemental joke, just like watch that one Gumball episode where he runs into Banana Joe's room and he's watching a video of an orange being peeled on his computer.
God. No, I just
Well, you know
want,
what-
I just wanted one of the trees to just say, I could explain.
Yeah.
Well, you know what they say. How about them apples?
Hey,
Yeah.
but what happened
In
in
spite
this
of that
movie?
elemental, they have some
What happened in this movie again?
a fire girl and a water boy got together.
I've played that game. That was a good game.
That was fire boy and water girl.
They switched the genders around.
Yep, I made the exact same joke when it was revealed.
But it reminded me of something better. So good for them.
Oh, you know what? It's about
No.
it's about a girl associated with fire, a boy associated with water. Clearly, this is meant to be an homage to Shark Boy and Lava Girl.
I just
Oh.
wanted to say that.
Yep, I just watched that yesterday. We're gonna do a riff tracks one day.
You know,
But
I always nicknamed
This movie
the
didn't have a Mr. Electric type villain though, so it's obviously inferior.
It could have been a fire guy. That could have worked.
Or a cloud person with lightning.
Oh yeah, but in Avatar: The Last Airbender, the lightning people are firebenders.
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know, I've always nicknamed the movie just as Motion Portrait of a Lady on Fire.
The lady on
Yeah, that works.
I'm surprised they didn't use a girl on fire for the marketing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I guess maybe that would have been too. Maybe it would have been like Miguel from Coco being like, maybe that would be too obvious.
Yeah.
Or maybe
I
it's
don't
obvious
know.
enough.
Maybe get some Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Oh yeah. That would be
Featuring
perfect.
someone with a water-related name, like I don't know,
Aqua.
Aquafina.
Oh, don't,
Aquafina. Yeah, Aquafina's in every movie. I'm surprised she wasn't in this one.
Yeah.
oh, don't
Is she in
forget.
Migration?
Yes, she's in Migration, and also
Oh,
Kung Fu
that's all I
Panda
heard.
4.
Oh, and you know, since we're talking about Earth, Wind, and Fire, you know what this movie does also have? Heart!
Heart.
Captain Planet.
Oh,
Go
Captain
Planet!
It does have heart. That's all.
With all your powers combined, I become a film that barely breaks even.
Yep.
Let our powers combine. And now we get to see the scene where they talk about AIDS.
And that's when the parents are like, "Okay, kids, we're not watching this movie anymore."
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
like Wade, I've got AIDS.
Wait.
I got Wade. You beat me
Yeah.
to it.
Yeah, Wade also has a sibling named Lake, and if I had a nickel for every lake I saw in a cartoon, well, you know.
Yeah, we know that old song
Yeah.
and dance.
Huh. I actually knew a guy in real life named Lake. His brother's
There's
name
an
was
actor,
Forrest,
Lake Bell.
and there's a Chicago suburb called Lake Forest.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, they didn't have Girl on Fire. They didn't have Earth, Wind, and Fire. Instead, they got the guy who did that "I Like Me Better" song from 5 years ago.
Oh yeah.
I like the song in this movie. "Steal the Show." It's nice. It's relaxing.
Wait, you mean melt like steel? Fire, melting like steel?
Yeah,
No.
Pokemon.
Oh.
Yeah, water beats fire. Earth, which I guess counts as grass, beats water. Air beats none of them.
No.
I mean, erosion maybe.
Maybe erosion, yeah.
Yeah, they'll eventually beat Earth over a period of 1,000 years.
Yep.
Not
Elemental
kidding.
rock, paper, scissors, one of my favorite tropes.
Okay, I am not kidding. That is verbatim my dad's response when I told him about Avatar. He was like, well, because I was describing like the water, the earth tribe, and the wind tribe. He was like, well, water beats fire, so this show should be pretty easy.
Clearly, somebody hasn't watched Terminal Montage's Pokemon Battle Royale videos, or like the Fire-type Pokemon always seem to make it the farthest.
Oh man, I've seen those videos, and I love how aggressive they are with their animation and slapstick.
I love his Mario videos.
It's unrelenting. Yahoo! Yahoo!
Like, I love the Yoshi woman. Like, hey, I want to write the Yoshi slapped.
Right. So we ready for any closing thoughts on Elemental?
I feel bad that I didn't have more to say about this movie because of like how much of an uphill battle it had, but I don't know, it's like it's all right. It's
Like,
it's the relationship between Ember and her dad was kind of interesting. Like I liked how the dad was voiced by like one of Pixar's main animation directors. Like that's pretty cool.
yeah. Like you can tell this is a passion film in everything from what the story's about to the animation, because the movie looks great.
Yeah.
Like the effect when Ember's light reflects off of Wade's water, like that just looks awesome every single time.
Yeah,
I will
like
say
the
scene where Wade used like that effect to light the candle. It just reminded me of the scene in Toy Story where Sid was burning Woody's forehead.
Sid, your Pop-Tarts are ready!
Yeah. Yeah, also the scene where Ember changes color when she touches the crystals, that was good. And also all with the chemistry.
Yeah, I wasn't a fan of the fact
find
that when she stood on two different color crystals, she was just split in half. Like I would have liked more blending.
Yeah.
Right. Green fire means copper, by the way.
Somebody needs to take a lesson from the school of rap battle backgrounds when the characters are facing each other and the backgrounds are blending in.
One last thought I had: the scene where Wade evaporates. I literally said, "Farewell, Wade. You will be missed."
That's cold. That's steamy.
Well, I find it a little weird that nobody else in the history of their town has ever tried like holding hands like before, because it's treated as like this really big discovery. Like, oh dang, we can actually touch each other. That's crazy. Like no one's ever tried that before, ever.
Like, and no one's like accidentally bumped into a water person.
Like
She bumps into fire or into earth and air, but
fire people are a menace to society. I'm just gonna say it. Like they're gonna destroy they're just gonna destroy our crops, our towns.
They poisoned our water supply, burned our crops, and delivered.
Thank you.
Like,
they did?
I will say,
No.
Are we gonna wait around until they do?
I say, we tipped something over!
Yeah!
And that's how the dam broke in the climax, because they tipped over a water.
Now what?
Now what? Get the lifeguard!
Yeah!
Oh, what?
We're getting
Honest
sidetracked.
with my thoughts of Elemental, I didn't really have much of an opinion on it one way or the other. It just kind of is a film that just exists for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, it kind of seems to be the consensus around here. It was good for a moment, but then like Wade kind of steamed away. But it is probably again the best of the three, almost by default.
Yeah. I think I prefer Strange World over this, honestly. By a
A lot
margin.
of my thoughts on it are very much like mostly respect in regards to the fact that it's clearly a story that the director wanted to tell. Like
Yeah, Peter
personally,
Stone himself is a first-generation immigrant, so that's shown through here.
and also like how ambitious the character animation is. Like I cannot respect that enough. Like the fact that they committed to these like constantly changing models like throughout the movie.
Yeah.
Like that is really cool.
Yeah, I will say I did get a bit of a chuckle off of Wade and his family's like constant microaggressions. Like,
Yeah.
can I just say you speak so clearly? Like,
I will say I also really enjoyed the film. There are two things I want to bring up. Like, I don't know if this was a filter or not, but there was like a drawing I saw that Wade and Ember eventually had a kid that was like Smoke. I'm like, I kind of would like to see that at the end of the film. That was kind of cute. And why wasn't there a character that was played by Harvey Fierstein?
I will like. I mean, his voice definitely would fit a fire person, just like by default.
Yeah.
And, like, I always love hearing Harvey Fierstein's voice.
I hate to say it, but this movie's just kind of a 5 out of 10 to me. Just like it's very like it goes like yeah, that was nice. I have no desire to ever see it again though. I don't regret seeing it in the first place at least.
Right.
Yeah, you can appreciate the effort that went into it, but as far as Pixar movies go, it's fine. I tend to like it when Pixar goes more abstract. Inside Out's still my favorite, but yeah, it's fine. I did not
like
You ready? This next one's gonna be fun.
Oh
yeah.
boy.
Oh yeah, this is the main event, everybody.
Okay, so
At least our two leads had chemistry. Well, I'll give them that.
yeah.
Right.
All right.
Chemistry, another element
Pun not
fun.
intended, by the way.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we get into this last one, I need to bring up the re-ranking again. The raw score for Wish was a 53.0. For comparison's sake, Chicken Little was a 52.5.
Oh,
Home on the Range was a 52.0. And those were the bottom two.
I think it's the lowest film on Metacritic since Brother Bear.
Well, you know
Yeah.
what to say. Hey, you gotta be ready to listen to your children, even if they have nothing to say.
No, Brother Bear and Chicken Little had a 48 on Metacritic. Wish, at the time I re-ranked them, had a 47.
all right. Little.
So it would be a 15 seed in Class D, and its first matchup would be against Bambi.
Was it? Is it the lowest overall seed, or is that still Home on the Range?
Home on the Range is still the lowest. We have 16 seeds now.
Yes,
boy.
we do. Again, just 2 more movies, and we can do round
Right.
2.
Oh, and
Yay!
just a side tangent. It turns out that Raya and Encanto, the other 2 movies that didn't make the tournament because they weren't out yet, they have the exact same score somehow.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Seriously?
And
Yeah.
73.5. And if I had to, and because of the way that I seed them, I have to rank Raya slightly higher. The only thing that means is that Raya is in Class C, whereas Encanto is in Class D.
Well, I think we know which movie is going to be sweeping that class.
Right. I mean, if you're curious, Raya and the Last Dragon would start out against the Aristocats.
It would still be the higher seed, though. That's fun.
And
I hate to say it, even though I don't like Aristocats, I probably would have voted for it.
I probably would. And Encanto would go up against Fox and the Hound.
Okay.
That's a tough one.
Dang it! I would vote for Encanto, but I actually do like Fox and the Hound.
No,
Yeah,
I'd
it's a
vote
whole
for
two no's
Encanto.
vote. But anyway, the matter at hand with Wish, it was meant to be their big centennial celebration and a comeback after a slump, but may have ended up being the nail in the coffin, at least in this period of Disney.
Thank God for Once Upon a Studio.
No, yeah,
You know-
kidding.
I will say, even though I do like Wish, I will definitely say Once Upon a Studio was like far superior. That I will admit.
Like
Like,
as
yeah,
as an
certainly as a
homage, as a
celebration.
product, so much better.
I've said this before, and I will say it again. I think that Disney did not even bother making an animated canon film and just did Once Upon a Studio. We'd probably all be satisfied with just that mere decision alone.
Yeah. Like, I don't
Some-
think Disney needs to have an animated movie every single November. Like, it doesn't have to do that.
Right.
Just releasing Once Upon a Studio, and Wesley did point this out to me, it would change, like, how the Asha cameo wouldn't make any sense. But we could just probably replace her with, like, a Madrigal or something, because it would still serve the same point, regardless.
You mean
I mean,
Mirabelle?
You could
Yeah.
still you have her and have it be like a Roy from Smash Brothers situation where he premiered in the crossover game before his actual game.
Yeah,
Or-
actually on TV Tropes, it's Marth debuted in Smash Bros. Because Fire Emblem wasn't localized yet.
Yeah. I guess I associate it more with Roy.
Yeah,
Because of
Right.
like the actual game.
right. But I know what you're saying. But anyway, Wish, this movie had a lot of rewrites and a lot of rough drafts, and I think I like the original concepts more than what we got.
I heard about those original concepts, and that was really
Yeah,
interesting.
they have the star be an actual character and possibly a prince who would be the one who got the power to grant wishes, and the queen was also going to be evil.
You know, I guess you can say our possible character was going to be a star.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, but a villain couple, we've never gotten that from Disney. That would have been fun to see.
If it's
Well, no,
anything like Shao Kahn and Sindel from Mortal Kombat 11, the DLC of that game, where those two were just a power couple, absolutely decimating everybody in their wake, that would have been pretty fun.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, I think I got that also from the Minions movie, where like the villain couple were like kind of like obsessed with each other, which I kind of thought was nice in there. But
Yeah, but I feel like it could have been a bit more explored, because it's like clearly one of them was more of like the central villain than the other.
Right. Okay, Yoda you liked this movie. Care to enlighten us?
But wait, before you do, I just want to go on one quick mini tangent, especially with all the three films that we talked about today. I don't know if it's just me, but are animated movies getting worse and worse at just naming their films? Because all of these titles are just so generic, and just they could have been any other movie. It makes
Well, I
it
don't
so
know.
hard to search for them on Google, because you have to be, so say like 2023 Disney's Wish, or like Strange World. Well, I don't even know that, I didn't even know that was a movie that came out. Like Elemental, like that could mean anything. And these movie titles are just getting more and more vague. I hate it.
I mean,
You know,
I'd say the last really good one was Encanto, because, you know, different language, it stands out. It's about a very specific thing.
You
it's relevant to the
you can tell
story.
who has and hasn't seen the movie if you hear somebody saying Encanto.
Yeah.
you know, I should
my-
say.
My favorite animated movie title, by the way, of this current decade is The Mitchells versus the Machines. Like that's a fun one to say.
And that was saved. It was almost connected.
Yeah, I know, that would have been terrible.
I'm not saying like
Connected. T-Mobile.
I'm not saying you can't have a memorable film with one title, because I do agree with what Carrick said, like one word, but it has to be like something that still stands out, like with Amadeus, Casablanca.
Yes,
Those,
yeah.
like, those are two of the best films ever made, and they both only have one word for title.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah, it's got to be like a character's name or something that's relevant to the plot, like Ratatouille.
Well, I think the
Frozen.
I think the absolute worst offender in this regard is Up.
Yeah, like that is. I love that movie. Terrible title. Like you could have named it
one movie
anything.
called Up, even.
Like, that might be, I don't know if it's the word with the most official definitions, but it's up there. Oh,
It's up there.
There you go.
And
You know,
like,
in terms of-
Leap too.
You know, in terms of anime titles, like I saw Children Run, Dawn of the Nugget recently, and if you haven't seen it, you should. It's phenomenal. I think it's almost as good as the first movie. Like, you should
Okay.
see it.
All right.
Okay. But anyway, Yoda Jax, care to enlighten us on Wish?
Yes, I will. I thought this movie was pretty good, in my opinion. Like I see it more as a celebration of like what Disney has created over 100 years. Like, I thought it did like a really good job. Like, I'm sure I will say that the main character is still just like kind of average compared to characters like Mirabelle or Anna in terms of being like adorable, that kind of characters, those kind of characters. So like, I thought, like, I'm sure it would have been interesting to see the teen and tween be like a villainous couple, but like the tween herself, I honestly thought was a pretty likable character, and I thought that the star was kind of cute, like the goat was cute, and I thought that like the seven dwarf friends kind of like, I thought they were kind of charming, especially the grumpy one, and I thought that like what was those one like? Oh, I also love how he actually got like a legit real bad guy again. I thought Chris Pine did an absolutely stellar job as the villain. That was pretty good. And I want to say, there's a lot of people saying they're like, oh, are these the backstories of all these different Disney characters in a way and Disney movies? To that, I have to say, no, it is not. It's supposed to be its own universe. It's just supposed to be like kind of homages because like it's earned. It's 100 years since Disney movies in that kind of way. And like, here's the thing: if they were meant to be different characters, why were Asha and the Fairy Godmother in Once Upon a Studio separate? Like, no, they're not supposed to be the same character.
Called fan theorizing. You just have your fun and go off, but it's not really canon.
Yeah, I'm just like, it's supposed to be cute. It's supposed to be like a homage, and that is totally fine. It's acceptable. I'm just like, just respect it as its own movie. Just don't connect to the other sources. You're gonna be fine. It's not the end of the world. So, yeah, like, I have no problem with it. Like, I thought the homages were pretty earned. Like I said, being 100 years and all that. And, like, it was fine. Like, I remember having a good time with that.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I'm glad you felt that way. Credits were kind of interesting to see all that, but I was like, wow, these are all movies I wish I'd watched instead.
You
Wow.
Yeah.
I
will
want to
say
give it.
That was terrible.
I
wanna give
will
it
say,
direct-
like, there is something about the villain that I will talk about later, like, in terms of, like, the book he has, but, like, I'll talk about that near the end.
Yeah.
Okay.
You did DM me about that before, and I do know what you'll be getting into, but I want to talk about you mentioned like the homages and like it's supposed to be its own thing, just like don't think about it and like think of it as its own universe. Well, my problem with that is that you can't really not think. It's hard to not think about it because like it keeps bashing you over the head with references like throughout the whole film. Like it's not subtle at all because like once I like put two and two together that her friends were supposed to be like the seven dwarfs, I was like, oh, whoever wrote that in, go eat crap. Like that is so hacky. Like that, once I figured that out, I was like, now you got seven characters like walking around and just it's hard to like even separate them at all because they always have to be in a group. There's too many. She has too many friends. Like
even the seven dwarves had more personality. They had actual character beyond their gimmick.
Like, as mean as that is to say, I think this character has too many friends, and I think this was also I remember like for the live action Snow White, like originally like for like the seven quote unquote dwarves, I think it was originally supposed to be closer to how they look in this movie, where it's like a diverse set of characters. One of them walks with a pair of crutches. But then they changed it, and now they're just animated CG characters in live action, and it looks really
and they're Uncanny Valley looking sort of like the originals, but not quite.
So my question is, were these guys supposed to be like a prototype of that original idea, and now it just doesn't make any sense because they decided to backtrack on it because of all the uproar, and now they're arguably doing something way worse than the thing that people were upset about because they didn't understand why people were upset to begin with? The reason that people were upset about it was because it was taking away jobs from actors with dwarfism who like taking away those opportunities, and you're still doing it because you're just making them animated characters.
Yeah, but like there are two things I want to say. One is like Carrot. When you said "eat crap," that actually made me laugh. That really made me laugh.
Thank you.
And two, I should say, I showed someone the promotional art of the Snow White remake, and they legit said this to me. Why is there so many Lord Farquaads around here?
Yeah, exactly. Everyone's just Lord Farquaad now. Well, and it's not just that too. It's like you've also got the scene of King Magnifico like doing all the magic spells, and he's referencing all the Disney movies. Like I think he referenced Little Mermaid and some other
Mary
ones.
Poppins.
Mary Poppins.
And Peter Pan
It's
is
92 minutes long, and apparently there is a little throwaway line or reference to every single movie in at least the animated canon.
Peter Pan was there for no reason.
Right.
And you've also got the shoot, I lost.
Are you referring to the Deer and the Bear?
Oh, yeah.
Oh man, when
And the
when
bear's
those
name
characters
is John.
started talking and then they started singing their song, like we'll get into the soundtrack eventually, but I was like, am I watching a Disney movie or one of those like YouTube Kids app videos where it's like you put it on just to like shut your child up?
You know, when the mushrooms
yeah.
and plants started talking, I expected them to break out into Piranha Plants on Parade from
Oh,
Mario
dear.
Wonder.
That would have been way better.
If someone hasn't made that video, make that video. That would be hilarious.
It'll give this movie a reason to exist.
No, I will say
Out
about those.
on parade.
Sorry, like I will say about the deer and the bear. Like they were saying, like, hey, thanks for not eating me, no problem. Like, I kind of want to see a movie about those two. Like, especially how the deer is kind of like a big stoner.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh gosh, it's open season again.
Yeah, but better.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as
marginally
the
better.
references to other Disney movies go, I think the most egregious one came right at the end where Valentino says he wants a Zootopia world.
Yeah,
that one felt
that
kinda
was the
bad.
one. That was the one I was trying to think
And
of.
speaking of Valentino, I know he's voiced by Alan Tudyk. Every time he talks, though, I just think of Patrick Stewart.
Yeah, I thought that too.
I wish he was voiced by Patrick Warburton.
No, here's who I got. I got like Pat. Oh wait, you did say Patrick Stewart. I thought you said Patrick Starr. My bad. Because
No.
I was about to say Patrick Stewart too, specifically like the voice of the boss on American Dad.
Yeah. No joke. I legit thought it was Patrick Stewart until I saw the credits. Even though I had seen in the promos that Alan Tudyk was going to be in this.
Yeah, like the funny thing is Patrick Stewart like turned down Disney a bunch of times when voicing
Turned
characters
out
for the
just far.
Yeah, but like the thing is, he came back to the Disney film that he voiced in was Chicken Little as that sheep teacher.
Oh, he was in Bambi 2 as well.
He
was.
He was.
He was also in Home on the Range.
Oh yeah.
What?
Yeah, he voiced like a horse for one scene.
That was Patrick Warburton.
No, that was Warburton.
Yeah.
You were talking about Patrick Stewart. My bad. I got my Patricks mixed up.
Right. It's a common name.
I think my biggest problem with Wish, aside from something we'll talk about later, if I could describe this movie in one word, it would be awkward. The pacing, the dialogue, like it was written by Jennifer Lee, who's very well known for like her awkward dialogue in movies, like Frozen, some scenes in Wreck-It Ralph. And she did some screenwriting for Strange World too. So it's very much her staple, but I don't know. I feel like every scene is like that. It's like, I don't find this very charming. It's just uncomfortable. Like, I can handle secondhand anger or secondhand sadness, but when it comes to secondhand awkwardness or embarrassment, that's just where, I don't know, it's just hard for me to sit through that. And I just felt like there was a lot of that, especially as far as Asha was concerned. Like when she's trying to hide Star and the talking goat from her friends the first time.
Yeah.
Like, that scene was hard to sit through. Fun fact, I actually went back to the theaters to rewatch this to see if maybe I was being too harsh on it. And no joke, I actually ended up walking out halfway through because
You paid to see this twice? Wow.
I don't blame you.
It's not a wise investment, I'm sorry. But yeah, I walked out. It was the dancing chicken scene.
Yeah,
Like,
I was just that was the scene that made me realize this isn't a family movie. This is a baby movie. I'm watching a baby movie by myself in this movie theater.
I got to that point the second time. I just realized.
I feel like it's more like a check the boxes movie. Okay, this is what a Disney movie needs. It needs talking animals. It needs a cute, plucky girl. It needs comic relief. But it doesn't really go into what makes those work. It doesn't connect them anymore.
Right, like I got to that scene the second time. I realized, no, my first assessment was correct. It's not going to get any better.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Asha has like no reaction to Valentino talking. Like I made a tweet about this, but they somehow did that trope better in the Equestria Girls movie when like Spike starts talking as a dog. It's like, yeah, I could talk now. Anyway, we're just gonna pretend and act like I've done this the entire time, I guess, and I'm also not going to make any contributions to the plot whatsoever.
They talk to each other. That's the thing.
Right. Like, okay, yeah, I talked out. Just roll with it.
Yeah, they barely have any interactions at all outside of Valentino. Don't do that.
I think the only line that made me laugh from Valentino was, "Careful, my mother was sheared to make that yarn."
Yeah.
You know, I will say, even to people who dislike the movie, like, I'm like, if you dislike the movie, that's totally fine. But can we please stop saying this movie was written by AI? Like, please.
Yeah, I've never liked those criticisms.
Like, I'm sure my words are not going to mean anything to the internet right now.
Written by AI. I've seen things written by AI. It's not like this at all.
Like that, and also like this was animated. Like this looks like it was AI animated. Like it's not. Look, I know you think you're funny with like that kind of like criticism, but it's also we're living in a really scary time right now where people are like feeling very threatened by that section of technology that's really burgeoning. Now is not the time to be making those kinds of jokes.
I used that criticism once, and I kind of regretted it because, like, immediately after, and I remember it was my dinosaur review where I claimed, like, because of how generic everything felt, not bad, but generic, that as soon as I used that criticism for dinosaurs, suddenly I see that criticism all over the place.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is your fault.
Dang it.
Thank you.
It didn't happen.
I like your movie sucks. Don't get me wrong, but he recently had like a reaction to that new Garfield movie coming out that's animated.
Oh, that looks terrible, by the way.
Yeah, it does. But he made a criticism that it looks like it's AI animated, and I was like, you didn't need to say that, man. Come on.
And that was because, like, the cheese sticking together when you pulled the pizza apart.
It's like okay, like you're overreacting, man. It didn't look that bad.
I'm content with assuming he never ate pizza before if he was surprised by that.
Right. Right, but
how do you avoid life going to eat pizza? I mean, like, I'm sorry, but like to me, that's just like that's odd.
Well,
yeah.
Like also the idea that people don't eat meatballs whole instead of taking a bite out of them.
Right. But anyway, we're going back to Wish because I really want to dig into the soundtrack. That's
God.
I was looking forward to this part. Let me give you guys a dramatic reading. Here's a little fun allegory that gets me excitatory. This might sink in the morning. We are our own origin story. It took them 3 lines to build up to that really basic line, and then at the very end, it's like, "Ooh, I'm a star. Watch out, world. Here I are."
Oh my God!
Looking sharp. Me, I'm a star. I made myself a sandwich.
I know what goes on in my head when I heard the "Here I Are" thing. Anyone else here ever seen I Am Weasel?
Yes.
If you have, you know where I'm going with this. Like, I are baboon.
Oh my.
Yeah,
God.
well, Timbaland did a song called "The Way I Are."
I much prefer the other song about stars. P.U. What's that horrible smell? It ends in a point. Pointy.
Okay.
Yeah, that makes more sense even.
Okay.
Like,
I'm just gonna say it. Wish has the worst soundtrack of any Disney movie.
Thank you.
Every single song in this movie is ranges from just okay to horrible. And even then, it's just the one song that's just okay, and it's the first one. And I'll tell you why. Like part of my problem with the soundtrack is how performative all of it seems. I get that this is like an animated musical, that's kind of the style, but there has to be a time and place. I feel like the opening song, which is clearly trying to be an homage, clearly trying to do what the Family Madrigal did in Encanto. I'll get back to that. Like, that's fine. But even then, it's still, like I said, awkward. The chorus, the lines of the chorus go on for too long, so they have to like work around the meter. I think they rhyme the word go with powerful, so they have to stretch the pronunciation. And
Yeah, glow and
the
powerful.
word "the" is on a downbeat. That's just, don't do that. But that song, it sounds fine. It has energy. I'm okay with that song. Let's see. The title song, that's the classic "I Want" song. Again,
This
awkward
Wish.
timing, trying to do that Lin-Manuel Miranda style singing. Like, the songs were written by Julia Michaels and Brandon Rice. And it is so obvious that they want to capture what the Encanto soundtrack did, because that was a huge hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know Lin-Manuel Miranda gets a lot of crap, but like he has a a very distinct style for a reason.
Right. When he does it,
resonates with a lot of people.
like when he does it, you can tell he's doing it because that's what he likes. That's what he thinks is cool. When Julia Michaels does it, it's because she wants to capture his style because that's just really in right now.
Yeah.
So
I'll also say,
that
Asha's
title song
is
wasn't very
probably-
good. This is the thanks I get. Wow. Like, what are you doing? Why does it sound like this? I'm a Star. Okay, if it weren't for What Made the Red Man Red from Peter Pan, I would call I'm a Star the worst Disney song. It is like everything wrong with this soundtrack in one package. Terrible lyrics, overproduced, annoying patter singing, and okay, here's a couple of lines from the second verse. When it comes to the universe, we're all shareholders. Get that through your system. Solar.
I feel like they really wanted to work shareholder into a line and just were stuck on a rhyme.
Oh boy. And now it is time for part 2 of Carrick's dramatic reading of the Wish soundtrack.
Oh
I let you live here for free, and I don't even charge you rent. I clean up all your messes, and I'm always there when you need to vent. I give and give and give and give. You'd think they'd all be content, and all I really want is just a little respect.
Not a rhyme. Not a
This
rhyme.
is the thanks I get.
Yeah, but anyway, he granted 14 wishes last year. I thought the deal was 1 wish per month. Where'd the other 2 come from?
I guess they have a different global calendar.
Yeah.
Isn't it great how we finally have a villain, like, after all this time in a Disney movie, and he sucks? Like, legit one of the worst villains that they've ever made.
Adulthood is realizing that King Magnifico was right.
Ugh.
Because it's like,
Yeah.
he
That
not
kind of
not only is he not that much of a villain, but it's like, yeah, like he shouldn't like have all these wishes or whatever. And I like the idea that it's not just like their wishes, it's also like kind of their souls, like their purposes in life. Like, that's kind of an interesting way to take it. But he's also just kind of an idiot too, because like this big magical event happens in the middle of the night that he had nothing to do with, and he like just got out of a fight like with Asha, and he doesn't suspect her at all until somebody like comes forward about her the next day, even though he just had an argument with her about him having all the wishes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't think maybe that's a little suspicious, my guy?
You know, if I could say something on like Leslie saying King Magnifico is right, there's this musical on YouTube, Twisted: The Untold Story of a Royal Vizier. And
yeah,
It
I love
tells
Twisted.
Aladdin, but it makes Jafar the hero and Aladdin the villain, and it required like a lot of retooling for the story. For Wish, it wouldn't require anything. You can tell the
Not
story
really,
the exact same, but with Magnifico as the hero and Asha's the villain.
Yeah, he was doing fine and he was going all about his business just fine until Asha came and spoiled everything.
because it's like you can make the argument that maybe the like his reasoning is that he doesn't want like chaos to unfold, but it's also like a dash of his own sort of
Ego?
Ego and like wanting to maintain his own power. It's like you can make that sort of argument, and that he's also maybe kind of talking out his ass a little bit too with the whole, oh well, this could like cause pandemonium, that kind of thing. But it's like I don't know. I feel like you definitely could have gotten that across better.
This might sound like a kind of a weird comparison, but the villain he reminds me of the most is actually Starlight Glimmer.
That's a good one. Yeah.
It's
Like they're like as villains, like they run this town or kingdom based on a very flawed philosophy. The way they rose up to that position of power comes from a very unexplored or weak place. I will say that Starlight's motivation is a lot weaker than Magnifico's, but I feel like there's a more direct line, a direct path to villainy that Starlight had as opposed to Magnifico. Because as far as motivation goes, we only get a single line about how his village was destroyed by outsiders. And we're just supposed to make the connection that, if they didn't have any passion, they wouldn't have had any motivation to do these terrible things. So I'm going to take away everyone's wishes, everyone's passions, so that this doesn't happen. That's a bit of a leap.
Yeah, like I don't really see any reason for him to have like gone down this path, like other than the fact that they just kind of had to say that the book makes you more evil, and like, okay, well, I guess now
I feel like
that
I don't know. I feel like
it sort of robs any agency that he had before, and that now he's just kind of a crazy asshole.
I don't know. I feel like maybe as he's learning all of this magic and sorcery, he starts getting corrupted by the power and the magic slowly, subtly, but surely. It would at least provide some kind of through line.
I will say though, like it showed that he was. This is now. I feel is it right? Like this is the time I was gonna bring up what I was gonna talk about before.
I think so.
Go for it.
Okay, so the bit where like he looks at the book and he gets corrupted. Like it's clear he starts saying crazy, but like here's the thing to keep in mind: he's still a bad person, and what happens? He gets arrested for it. Now, for Magical, the episode of My Little Pony, even though Trixie is corrupted, and we know that she was a bad pony before she got the amulet, she's let go. Like, no consequences at all. So, I at least commend Wish for giving Magnifico consequences in some way.
Yeah, like, although I will say that does kind of get ruined a little bit when it's like, oh, you made him the magic mirror from Snow White, okay.
Or at least a magic mirror.
Like,
I like to imagine he's the magic mirror that gets sent to Farquaad's castle.
Yeah, thank you for reminding me of another movie I could be watching that isn't this, and also a film that is hand-drawn animated, and not this film that was clearly wanted to be hand-drawn animated, but they decided to instead go for a watercolor sort of cell shading look, but at the same time not commit to it, so it just looks unfinished and not very appealing.
They tried to meet halfway, but it feels more like a rough cut than anything.
You know their actual excuse for that? They said it was too hard to make it hand drawn.
Yeah, too hard. After we just got done with Once Upon a Studio, yeah.
Yeah, and now I combined multiple art styles too into that like 1 9-minute short. But yet
it had like hundreds of characters in it too.
Yeah.
Hundreds of characters all like hand-drawn animated, and it looked fine. It looked really good, in fact.
Yeah, it was like, you're telling me you could have done 2D this entire time.
Yeah, and they were interacting. 3D characters were interacting with the 2D characters too. It didn't look that hard to make.
Now I kind of want to see a movie do that now, and have mediums interacting with each other, and like have that be the quote-unquote happy little medium of bringing hand-drawn animation back to feature films, at least for Disney movies.
Right.
When you said, by the way, Wesley, when you said that, it just reminded me of the line from the Sonic 06 fan dub where Knuckles is like, "You had the weed the whole time?"
Oh.
But no, it's like there's some effects that look kind of decent in this movie, like when he opens the book for the first time and like the green clouds all like surround him. It's like, yeah, like that's a decent enough effect, and like especially at nighttime, it's like there's some like nice colors here and there. But my main problem with the animation is that there isn't a whole lot of creativity with it. Like when she gets the magic, the only real thing they do with the magic is either make animals talk or make some objects a little bit bigger, and that's it. Like you have this magic wand that could potentially do anything, and you don't really take advantage of that at all, and it's just kind of creatively bankrupt.
Right, she could turn someone into a bird and fly off on them. That would be fun.
Or give yourself a rocket shoes or something crazy.
Go anachronistic.
Yeah, just go with genie logic. Give yourself an iPhone.
Right.
Give yourself an iPhone and start tweeting about trying to cancel King Magnifico.
That's pretty funny.
And
Invent social media.
Yeah.
oh god.
Oh, I didn't mean to get myself with that one.
Right.
Yeah, look, I saw another interesting take on King Magnifico, comparing him to other Disney villains, in that what makes a lot of Disney villains like Ursula and Scar and Gaston so interesting is that where they start isn't the same as where they end at the end of their run. Because, you know, Scar, he is trying to get the kingdom, he's trying to become a king. Ursula is trying to steal King Triton's power. But with King Magnifico, he's already a king. He's already respected. He's got everything. So by the end of it, he's like, I guess I'll just have that, but I'll also be crazy and just have more of it, I guess.
Yeah.
It just like, and if anybody like decides to not like that, I'll make them kneel to the ground, and I'll be actually unstoppable. Except for when the magic of friendship stops me, and it's really cheesy.
Friendship is the real magic.
Yeah, they did a Michael.
At least with My Little Pony, when they solve things with the magic of friendship is like basically a weapon in that universe. Yeah. Like they've weaponized friendship. Here in Wish, it's just like, we're sort of running out of time in this movie. We kind of wrote ourselves into a corner. Let's just have them stop him, and that's it. Okay, we did it, everybody. We can go home now.
We'll say for Friendship's magic, like for the first couple scenes, it was the elements of harmony, but by the end of it, it was just kind of like, no, the friendship was the size all along. Like, I'm sorry, I wasn't a fan of that. It was kind of like a Care Bear special or something.
It was. I guess the real treasure was inside us all along, or like the friends we made along the way.
This movie. I've seen a lot of movies like Wizard of Oz or Puss in Boots where the moral is the real wish is inside you, and I feel like that tried and true message is what this movie could have needed, that they couldn't have wished for anything they didn't already have.
There were so many areas where I thought they would do something clever, but they didn't. Like, you remember that sleepy friend Asha had, who ended up being the one to reveal to King Magnifico it was her?
Yeah.
I thought they would like have the revelation be Magnifico heard him say it in his sleep, but no, that wasn't what they did at all. And it's like, that would have been the perfect setup for it.
Yeah.
Like, he was just asleep and says, it was Asha, and King Magnifico just overhears it.
And then they're just like, yeah, you kind of screwed us over, but, you know, I guess we're cool. I guess you can still be our friend. You guy that just got mauled by several woodland creatures. He definitely has rabies. You can, like, there's no way he doesn't have rabies.
I will say, it does lead to a funny line from the Grumpy character when he says, "Never trust someone with a pretty face. That's why I hang out with you guys."
Yeah.
But then it was
then he also had the line of, "This is why I'm always grumpy." And it's like, okay, I guess in case you didn't know.
Before it was, quote, revealed that they were an allegory for the Seven Dwarves, every time the grumpy character spoke, I was just like, who invited this asshole?
this guy. And by the way, another Puss in Boots connection, because it's I don't know how you pronounce his last name, so I'm just gonna call him Harvey. It's Harvey and playing basically the exact opposite character from Perito.
The grump as a step from the incurable Optimus Burrito.
Yeah.
This is just a personal thing. I don't like that he's grumpy, because when I think of the word grumpy, I think of like an embittered old man.
Yeah. Well, I see him as more sassy, if anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Was one of the dwarves named Snappy?
Nope.
Like kind of well dressed.
Right.
Been bugging me all day. Genuinely terrible movie. Like I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This was one of my least favorite theater going experiences I've ever had. I felt very out of my element. I was one of the only adults there. There was a lot of kids, and like even the kids were kind of bored too. I was like, I shouldn't be here. Why am I? I'm only here out of obligation.
Right, there were like 2 other family groups on Black Friday when I saw this.
Like the first time I went, there was almost no one in the theater. But then again, this was a Monday night, so
Like, I saw it on Thanksgiving.
like I don't know if I'd call this movie terrible. I will say it is exceptionally lame.
It's frustrating to me, is what it is, because
And like I said earlier, awkward.
yeah,
Right.
it had a really good idea, I think. With him with somebody in power taking like everybody's wishes and essentially their essence, their reason for living, which isn't, yeah, like you said, too far off from what cutie marks are supposed to be, and like having like that little wish character be like some sort of prince from the stars or whatever, and like having a little romance there, like that's not a bad idea to me. Like,
Right.
like
I
that
think
could
this
lead to some really creative
sort of as
sequences.
an allegory for the modern Disney company, how they took people's wishes and sucked them dry.
Yeah.
But this is how we can get the magic back.
Like in my head, by the way, when I went into this movie knowing about that, and in my head, I just tried to imagine any scene with that little wish like star character, if he, actually had a voice and like was a person, and like when I was like seeing like those scenes of him in like peril and like being like held captive by like the green energy. When I was imagining him as like the original concept, like it made the scene much more interesting to me, because I was thinking of him like struggling, go like, oh, and like I would have probably been a lot more attached to him as a character too if we had more character. So I don't know, just
Yeah,
it could've been
whenever I see Star,
special.
all I think of is that Luma from the Mario movie.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
I knew someone would make that comparison.
I like to think of Starfy from the video game Legend of Starfy. It's an obscure Nintendo DS title. I'm sure some people will get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think the only thing we have to say, the only thing left to say about it is, I wish this was a better movie.
Yeah.
I wish I might. I wish Disney would go back to making hand-drawn movies,
Yeah.
please.
Anyone else
Right.
find it odd how, like, at the end credits with all the constellations of the characters, they just skipped both the Rescuers films?
Oh,
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
Did they?
yeah, they did. And I sat there and I was like, the heck are the Rescuers? They also skipped most of the package film era except for Ichabod and the Black Cauldron.
That's odd.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do that,
It
go
was
all
like,
the
oh, we
way.
had 2 Rescuers films, so we should probably only just reference one of them. Like, that was
Right.
the case, I didn't understand, but it was both of them they skipped.
I will say though, I'm glad for Pocahontas representation. I don't care if there's not much in that boat. I still love it.
Hey, more power to you, man.
Thank
Also,
you.
want to give, just one last thing, I want to give a direct shout out. While I was watching the movie and recognizing all the constellations, there was a little kid who got every single one of them right, except for Quasimodo. Like, that was the only one he couldn't recognize.
Understandable.
I kind of felt a little hurt because, like, that's my favorite of the Disney films, but still, I kind of found it a little bit funny.
Like to quote Patrick Star, "Now that's ugly."
Yeah, no. If he had said the ugly barnacle, I would have accepted that.
Right, I think there was a kid next to me also who was pointing them all out, and he got most of them. The only one I don't think he got was Strange World.
I mean, I really don't blame them for that.
Right, yeah.
So
I think the my other not so good theater going experience this year was when I watched that new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. The film is fine, but the dialogue is also really weird because they reference like a lot of other movies in it. Like they reference Megamind and Shrek and a bunch of other stuff. And
Oh,
and-
they reference Megamind. That's a point in my book.
well, and, yeah, like literally April's like, okay, so like I've been like following their like these guys' plan. It's like really Megamind up in here. It's like okay, but
And that's one of my favorite DreamWorks movies. Props to them.
but every time they referenced something, one of the kids in the theater would be like, I know that, and then they would like repeat the thing, and I'd be like, okay, there's a lot of. I hope there aren't too many references in this movie. Like almost every line of dialogue was a reference to something. Like, how do we defeat the bad guy? Have you guys ever seen Attack on Titan? Oh, and they're like, I know Attack on Titan. It's like, why have you seen it? You're a little child. Why have you seen Attack on Titan?
I think that's TVMA.
That is not for kids.
Yeah.
I don't know. I saw a movie. I think it was fine. Like, cause I've seen teenagers who talk like that. Like I
I'm
remember.
wearing a JoJo's Bizarre Adventure shirt or hoodie. A child should not be watching that anime.
Right. So we're
Well,
ready
to be fair, I kind of grew up on South Park when I was a teenager. So
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that is fair.
So we ready to wrap it up?
Yeah,
I think so.
I have nothing else to say about this movie. 3 out of 10.
Yeah. Thanks for
Same
joining
here.
us, Jack ValJack.
Pleasure to be here, Wesley.
Thanks.
all right,
You two, the other Jack, and Nick.
Yeah.
yeah.
glad to have you on, man.
Pleasure.
Watch Kung Fu Panda 4, everybody. That's all.
that
That's all I have to
That
say.
was awesome.
All righty.
Thanks for reminding me to check out all the other ones.
All
I
right.
say check out Chicken Little 2. I say Chicken Run 2.
When's Chicken Little 2 coming out? I think people would.
sorry.
I think people would legitimately be down for that.
I think
yeah,
there were
yeah.
plans for that during the sequel era, but they canceled it.
It would
Yeah.
definitely be like a Morbius situation. where people
I
go to
can
it ironically.
definitely see that getting a genuine following because like all the stuff they hated from the first one technically gets resolved at the end, so they don't have to worry about it. But anyway, yeah, we will see you guys next time. Take care.